My performance practice drew me to Patrisse, and Patrisse's work also influences my performance. I'm really, really grateful that I get to call her a friend and a contemporary, because there's like this symbiotic relationship that exists with our practices that's so important to me. And it was a true privilege to be able to perform with her for her piece that she did here at the Fowler. When I think about the day of the performance, the preparation, the getting ready was as much a part of the art as the finished product and us processing together. I think I think about the word meditation a lot when I think about that entire body of work by Patrisse, but there was such a communal meditation when our hair was being braided and when we would practice together, and even us putting those wonderful dresses on together. That was as much a part of meditating, being a part of a shared experience where all of our bodies were communicating the same prayer simultaneously. It felt like that was a part of us being a part of the artwork and creating it together, as much as we were creating art when we were moving in unison, when we were standing together. And I think that's something that's so wonderful about what Patrisse creates. Again, there are these invitations for you to, in this instance, all of us get ready for something, like whether it's getting ready in the morning or getting ready for bed at the end of the day. But that felt like an invitation to consider what's the prayer that you can have, like in that time with yourself when you're getting ready for something. What's the meditation or something that you might be whispering to yourself or to someone that's with you, even if you can't see them when you're preparing for something. So it was really, really special. And there was a calm that I remember. Um, Definitely laughter, anticipation. But I think what's so special about performance like that with multiple bodies and with multiple femmes is that we were all creating simultaneously and using our bodies together for 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 one cause, for one prayer, and for one intentionality. I think the significance of Black femmes together in the performance is that there was an example and an intervention of Black femmes taking up space unapologetically and in a way that was protected and protecting. And I think that's a really important reminder that we need right now. When people followed us as we were walking, it was like we were building a soundscape together, because the bodies that were moving with us then became a part of the sounds and the art. So when you listen mindfully, like when you hear your own heartbeat, right? And you hear your breathing, and then the folks that were in the procession with us, you hear the person that's in front of and behind you as well, right? Eventually, the procession wasn't just us walking together, but the people that decided to move with us. And it's almost like a cloud where you're starting to feel their heartbeats and their breathing too. So, what do you make when multiple bodies are in one? And it's not just what you see and hear, you feel it too, because eventually all of your bodies are in rhythm together. We created a structure together, and I love that type of interaction with architecture because, again, it's the same kind of edifice building that's here every single day. It's going to be here after we leave, and it was here before. But I felt, at least, that we were injecting a protective energy into what existed already, and not only for the building, but the people that were there together. It's like we were setting the stage for these objects that people were going to interact with for the duration of the exhibition, but also for the beautiful singing that was about to begin, and then that was happening. It was an injection, again, not just of our physical bodies, but the energy that we carried with us for the entire procession. I thought that was a wonderful bookend. I felt adornment through the attention to detail. Uh, I felt adornment through the actual act of of braiding our hair, the actual act of us like touching each other up and making sure that all of us were ready for each other. It really demonstrated the shared experience of adornment and how it's just as important for your own care, your own self-actualization. That's just as important as the care and the act of seeing when you're engaging with someone else as they're adorning. And again, that feels like it's as much a part of the artwork as what everyone else got to see, what the audience gets to see. It's what's so special about performance is that you're inviting the audience into whatever world you're creating during the performance, but all of what you're doing to your body and how you're engaging with the people that you're performing with, there's a change that happens when that's happening too. I think that's what's so special about that medium for art. We are connected by our hair as Black femmes, metaphorically and literally. It's such an important part of our history, of the political significance of being able to adorn yourself unapologetically. It's just ridiculous that it's only in recent history that we have legislation that protects Black women being able to wear their hair the way they want to in professional spaces. So that's a really important part of our history, our politics. But it's also just, I think, a reminder that all of us benefit from when we know that our adornment, our care for ourselves is important. It's something to be praised and something to put on a pedestal. So I think that attention to detail with our hair was such a beautiful footnote and a part of the performance that I think is very important, because it showed the importance of adornment and the connectivity that comes from our adornment. When I reflect on that evening, the sounds that I remember are the sounds of people's voices, like everyday life on a campus. So people laughing, people walking, some people being in a hurry, what the grass sounded like underneath my feet and our feet as we were walking. I think about what the leaves sounded like in the wind. And that soundscape, I think, is such an important reminder that we were existing within a setting that already had its own sounds and own movement, and we were almost like in harmony with it instead of against. During the performance, when I was thinking of who I was praying for, who was with me, I was definitely carrying the names, my prayers for and the prayers that came from my friends and friends that have become family, that at the time, so I literally, there were nights when I had a really hard time sleeping when I was just trying to make sure that folks that I cared about were safe. And there was a helplessness that I felt a lot during that time period. But during that collective prayer, I didn't feel as helpless because I knew that I was carrying them with me. And even if they weren't with me physically, I knew that I was creating space for them and sending all the love and intention that I had to Palestine, to the West Bank, to Gaza, to my friends and family in the diaspora that also needed protection and safety. So it felt like a personal way to combat helplessness, and I hope an example for what it means to use what you have, use what you got to channel in the right place when folks need strength, because it's the same strength that people have provided for me when I've needed it. So it was really unique for me to be able to feel that kind of strength and hope when I hadn't felt it. Performance art can be a liberatory practice, and we saw an incredible example of what that looks like within the container of the institution. by showing us that liberation can exist in places that are familiar and in places that you might visit every day. So I thought it was really incredible to see not only the exhibition, but the performance invite folks to potentially be at a place that they exist in all the time or visit regularly, like the Fowler Museum, like UCLA, except during the exhibition and during the opening of the exhibition when the performance happened, there was something that might not typically happen on a typical day on campus. And I think it's a reminder that you can create experiences like that on your own. Like, I think performance is an invitation to see what you can take away and apply to your everyday life and the places that you frequent.